Welcome to An American Homestead, podcasting live from deep within the Ozark Mountains at an elevation of 2,200 feet. It's 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, and it's great to be back. Had a little bit of an absence last week, but we're ready to rock and roll tonight. Got a big stack of stuff for you. Jamie is with me as always. Already had my cup of decaf earlier, so I'm winging it. But I got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Going to be some really interesting articles. I'm sure you're going to enjoy them, so stick around for the hour. Here again, every Saturday night. If you like these podcasts and you want to download them and listen to them later, best way to do that is go to your favorite browser and search for YouTube MP3 Downloader. You can go to your favorite browser and download that. People like to listen to us as they work out or on the drive to work in the car. That's your best bet. So giving a big plug out to the Homestead Network. If you want to find some amazing YouTube channels, you can go to thehomesteadnetwork.com, go to their show times, and find many other channels like ours that are on each week and talk about some of the same things we talk about: livestock, off-grid living, preparedness, alternative energy, food preservation, livestock and chickens, gardening, all kinds of things homesteading. And we are an off-grid homestead. I know a lot of people are always asking, how come we don't see you guys talking? And that's because we are off-grid. The only lighting we have right now is our lantern light, and it just is not conducive to putting our images on the screen. So we have this little placeholder that you see on the screen. It's called the Homestead Network, and it's got a little microphone that says "on the air." But it is the way it is. It's kind of like it harkens back to the old days of radio in the 1930s, where families used to gather around the radio and listen to their stories and the news, and that was good enough for people back then. But today, it's just not good enough for them, don't you think?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're harking back to the years of old, in this kind of format that we're doing. How you doing?
But we sit around and read books, and that's good enough in the evenings.
Yeah, the kids like that. They always want us to read to them. That's their entertainment. So let's see. What do we do this week?
We tried to get you and Caleb to recover.
Yeah, so last week we were gone, and I'm still not 100%, folks. I don't know. So everyone's been asking, so what happened? What happened? Did you get sick? Was it the flu? Was it bad lamb or whatever? And I think what happened was one of the sheep we butchered, I was not paying close attention enough to cleanliness practices. Is that the right word? Right phraseology?
I don't know. You're always really careful about that.
I know. It's my opinion that it was food poisoning. And one of the sheep we were butchering had a little bit of scours. And I'm thinking it was on the pelt, and I didn't take care enough to wash my hands good enough when I was dealing back with the meat after dealing with the pelt. And so it was only me and Caleb who got sick. Jamie was fine. Joshua was fine. So, at first maybe thought it was the flu, but they didn't have any issues. So, yeah, it hit me hard. I'm still not 100% back.
It's of my opinion that maybe that was it. It could have been the flu, but Joshua and I did not get sick, and we tend to have a more kind of like iron stomach when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking,
I haven't been sick with the flu in years. I mean,
yes,
never since we moved off grid.
But if you're going to get sick to your stomach from something, you're more likely to do that than Joshua or me. And so is Caleb.
I guess. I don't know. I just, again, I'm not 100% back yet. And
we don't know what it was. All I will say is that it kicked me in the butt.
But she had to take care of me. That's why.
Taking care of them. Oh my gosh.
So,
I'm just thankful I wasn't sick. I don't know how I would have.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would have managed. We would have made it, but.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're recovering from that. Again, I think it was a foodborne illness, and but we're doing better here. Caleb's bouncing around like normal. I have a little bit of a stomach issue. It seems like I haven't recovered. I'm gonna do some heavy milk diet. We're going to put the word out, I think, this week on trying to get some kefir grains, some milk kefir, and trying to do milk kefir again.
We did kefir for a long time when we were getting milk regularly.
Right, and that was back before we moved off grid.
We just haven't made it a priority to get raw milk regularly.
Yeah. We get it from our neighbor. We get it from down the road. There's another neighbor.
I know. I mean, it's really close by. We just don't get it regularly because we don't drink it.
Well, they also haven't had it regularly either. There's a lot of times when the cow's sick
that's true. They
or
haven't had it always.
There's a mastitis issue going around, or just the cow is dried up. I mean, they're not in season all the time, so.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we don't drink milk like we used to.
Because when we got it back in St. Louis, they had enough cows where they had always had milk.
Yeah. In St. Louis, there were 3 of us, and we bought 3 gallons a week.
Yeah. We went through a lot of milk, folks. Anyway, so we are going to look at maybe doing some it's a good probiotic, and it seems like my gut's a little messed up from the sickness that we had, and so I want to get my, all my internals working, on all cylinders again, and one of the best ways to do that is get on some probiotics. And one of the best probiotics you can get is raw milk, and even better than that, kefir grains, kefir, milk. And so we're going to do that again, and I'll put the word out on Facebook, in our area and say, hey, listen, who's got kefir grains? And see what we can come up with. Let's see, what else did we do this week? Tim was out there working on the laundry station. Some of you guys, if you watch the videos, you got a peek at that, at what that's looking at. He was doing the roof the other day. And so you got a view on that. Are you excited about getting that going?
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be really, really nice because we'll have shade when it gets hot.
Yeah.
He's got the roof on already, so...
he's going to get the sink in there. He's going to have 2 sinks in there, I think.
Yeah, 2 sinks and 2 ringers.
Yeah.
So my mom and I, we have the ringers. We've just never had a space to put both of them at one time. So we'll be able to both use a ringer if we want to at the same time.
It's going to be the Mac Daddy of all laundry stations.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So that'll be really cool because, we're still using, I mean, it's held up fine, but we're still using the laundry. That was the very first thing that we built when we moved to the homestead, right? Was
right.
The laundry. And actually my dad and I built it together because Zach was commuting to town to get internet. He was working on the computer, so he had to commute to town to get internet. He would sit in a coffee shop to get internet during the day. Anyway, so my dad and I built it together, and it's held up these, a good over 4 years now.
Yeah,
so.
It's done really well. Real good. Other than that, we've been working on the garden. Garden. We've been getting a lot of rain the last couple days. We've had 4 inches of rain in the last 2 days, over 4 inches of rain. And now that's pretty good. I mean, we live in an area where you get, on average, about 50 inches per year of rain. So that's great. I mean, that's people ask me, why did you pick the Ozarks? Well, water is a big issue. You don't want to go through droughts, especially if you're living off grid. Water becomes of prime importance. And if you live in a place where you get 50 inches of rainfall a year, in fact, that's one of the most, you have Hawaii, you have Florida, you have a couple other places, but that's one of the most places in the United States, or one of the few places in the United States that gets that much rainfall. And that's important, especially for an off-grid homestead like us. And so the garden is growing. I'm a little concerned tonight and tomorrow night because it's going to get down in the upper 30s, and it's usually about 5 degrees colder than what they always predict. So I'm a little concerned about some of the plants I have grown in the garden. But here's the good thing. The good news is, let's just say it gets down to a frost and it kills a bunch of my peppers and tomatoes and things that are out there growing, or my potatoes even. The good news is we're so far south. We are in the Ozarks. We can start again. I can start new seedlings if I have to. I can plant new plants. And we have a long enough growing season that it's not going to hurt us. It's going to be okay. I don't have to cry about losing all those plants. I prefer if we didn't lose all those plants because some of them are getting some size on them. But and our garden is just looking spectacular so far this early. But
we have to. I always keep trying to put it into perspective too because it's only April.
Yeah, it's just April.
Our first year, we had snow
May 1st.
on May 1st.
May 1st, we had snow. And that was abnormal. I mean, that's not normal for this part of the country, but it can happen. And so you just got to keep that in mind. It's not normal, but it can happen. And so if it does, it's okay. You still have a long enough growing season where you can start over. But see, other parts of the country, you might not have that long growing season. Unless you're at the Deep South homestead, and then all year round is growing season, so you can just grow all year round. So, but other people don't have that luxury. So, but it's still, you have a good enough growing season, you can start over if you need to.
But the heat there. The heat.
Oh yeah. There's a reason why Florida, before 1950 was mostly uninhabited, because air conditioning was not yet invented. So, I don't want to move that far south. This is good enough for us. When it gets to 90 degrees, we're hitting the creek, and
we're just thankful that we can live in a place where the bugs die for a certain amount of the year.
Yeah. Wintertime, the bugs die. So we're blessed to be in a place where that happens. But yeah, the garden is going. I'm getting a lot of plants in. I did a lot of planting this last week, right before I knew the rains were coming in, and working on the sorghum field, for that coming up. I tilled up that this week, and cut down a really big tree for the sawmill. It's a really huge cedar tree, and got to get that trimmed up and get on the sawmill this week. So I'll cut some more boards to put in the solar kiln. So always working on that, a couple, 1 or 2 days a week. And then, let's see, you canned some more pumpkin this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it all done. I still have one more huge one to do.
We're all sold out of the seeds for those. A lot of people were buying it. They're sold out. It was the Ozark Mountain potatoes.
But did you put them online again?
I have not yet. We haven't packaged them yet, I don't think. Did Joshua package them?
No, but...
Okay, we're going to get that up this week. It will be up this week. And so for those of you guys who are asking about them, we will get the pumpkin seeds, the Ozark Mountain potato, as we call it, up again online for you to purchase. You have plenty of time to plant these. We don't plant them until about summertime.
I was really surprised because the ones I've cut open previously...
You got some sprouts?
Yeah, but there weren't that many good seeds in them. These that I did this week got a lot of good seeds.
Yeah. So these things are awesome. I'm telling you, they're awesome. You will love these things. They taste so good, and they grow great. I haven't had any pest pressures when it comes to squash bugs or anything. No, none of the powdery mildew affects them. I mean, they're just a great growing squash. And they come over from our friends over at My Aqua Farm, Travis Huey and his wife. So they're the ones who gave us those. Let's see. Oh, so I want to talk about real quick. In fact, before we mention the cedars and the sawmill and stuff like that, I found this week evidence of cedar rust on one of our cedar trees, and it's the first time we've seen it since we've been on the homestead. I'm gonna do a video on it tomorrow morning. I'm gonna go out there and do a video on it, and we've never seen it here before because it was only after we moved here that we first put in some very young apple trees. Well, that allows that life cycle to complete, and now you have the cedar rust emerging on our cedar trees. And so that's just something, we're going to talk more about that coming up this week. I'll do a video on it. It's going to be entitled, See, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. Because things like cedar rust. There's certain things you can't grow here in certain parts of the world, where you have your homestead. Just be aware that certain plants do better than others. And this is one of the reasons why you can't have apple trees where we live. I mean, you can grow them. And if you're willing to, putting soaps on them and all kinds of other chemicals and fungicides to keep that thing at bay, then you can do it. But that gets expensive, and if one day that you can't get those items anymore, your apple trees are just going to go the way of the dodo bird. But also of interest, people are asking a lot about it, is mushrooms. We got some shiitakes. I know that, with the rainfall that we just got over the last 2 days, we're going to have some shiitakes here pretty soon, and that's really exciting because we love those. And there's a couple channels I want to give a shout out to. Amazing channels. I'm learning so much from them. It's called, the number one is What the Fungus, and also the second one is Myers Mushrooms channel. Myers Mushrooms and What the Fungus. Those two channels on YouTube are amazing channels at education and learning about how to grow mushrooms. Now, the What the Fungus channel, what they're doing is they're doing it on more of a commercial scale, and they're teaching other people how to do it, because what they're doing is they're selling all of their mushrooms to local restaurants in their area, and they're making a good amount of money on it. And doing so, but they're helping other companies get started around the country on selling mushrooms for maybe restaurants in their area. So they're not shipping; you can't do that, but you can service your local area, and so they're helping other people do that, which is a great business opportunity, folks. If you have a homestead and you have the space to do this, and I immediately thought of Shalom Acres and the guys over there, because I think Chris with his walk-in, what's it called? The
cellar?
The cellar, yeah, the cellar. With the humidity in there, it would be a great place to grow these mushrooms. And he is close enough, we're not, but he is close enough to be able to sell these to restaurants, and they make a good amount of money on these things. So folks, check that out. The channels are called What the Fungus and Myers Mushroom. Both of those guys will give a great amount of information on selling mushrooms, and for a business opportunity for many of you guys who are looking to make money on your homestead, this could be it. So pretty cool information.
There seems like there's a good amount of, I don't know whether a good amount compared to other areas, but there are some farm-to-table restaurants in that area, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a college town, or it's south of a big college university town. And so there's that too. But I think as close as he is to the area where he's at, he could probably locate restaurants who would buy things like pearl and the blue oyster mushrooms, things like that, that have high dollar prices, but then also are easy to grow, especially with his cellar that he has, his root cellar. And I know he's always looking for new ways too. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. I want to build a root cellar here too. So I think we would grow these just for our own consumption. I think it'd be great to test that stuff out. So anyway, check those out. Those great channels. I'm learning a lot. So this week I was watching the Big Family Homestead, and I saw that Krista was in the chat room. I don't know if Brad is too. I'm sure he's there. But they had got a letter in the mail from their zoning board or county commission or whatever it is, whatever governmental authority, goose-stepping bureaucrats that are living around them. And they're telling them that they have to get rid of all their animals. And they have a special needs child, their daughter, who feeds through a G-tube, and they can't. I mean, one of the best things, we raised our children, let's see, Joshua was raised on goat milk, right?
Well, powdered goat milk at that time.
Because we couldn't get the real stuff.
Yes.
And Caleb hasn't really known anything else but raw milk.
No. Well, yeah.
So, I mean, our children have been raised this way as well. And now Brad and Krista have been told that they have to get rid of their animals, their goats, their cow, their chickens, everything. And, this is, when I heard about this week, it hit home, because I'm already planning a video coming up on why it's a huge deal, folks. It's a huge deal when people are looking for land, when they're looking for a homestead. There's just one thing you got to keep in mind. You want land that nobody else wants. It's that simple. You want land that nobody else wants, because the more people who want that land, the more people who are going to live around you, and then you have the more people who are going to try to tell you how to live. It's just that simple. And we live in a place where we are really in the middle of nowhere, but even in our county, in the county seat, the town of the county seat, they are always trying to bring in more businesses, bring in more people. They want to be this thriving metropolis. The newspaper of our county is a liberal rag. It wouldn't be fit for a parakeet's cage. And they're always trying to bring in all this stuff. And the people around it, they're always trying to bring in new tax revenues and pass new tax raises and all this stuff. And the people, thank goodness, continually vote it down. And much to the dismay of these liberals who live in the county seat in our county. because they want to do all this amazing things that's gonna bring all the supposed nirvana of life to our county. And I'm like, the county's good enough. I mean, if you want a movie theater, go move back to the freaking city. Because the reality is, when you build all this stuff, you bring in a bunch of ninnies who want to rule and determine everything you do in life. And so that's why I tell people, and we're going to tell people, is that you need to live. You want land that nobody else wants. Because, I mean, where we live here, there's no cell service. There's no fire department. There's no service. There's no service. There's no even road services. Our road down the road has basically washed out, with the last 4 inches of rain that we got. The county came by and dumped a load of rocks there, and the rain, it was about 2 or 3 days ago, and then the rainstorm came and then washed it all away. Our roads are horrible, and I love it. I love that our roads are horrible, because all it takes is for some city slicker to come out here and drive looking for land, and he drives on these roads in his Volvo, and he's like, no way am I living out here. Yeah, that's right. Keep on going. Move back to the land of pavement, because I don't want you here. I don't want you here. And so you want land, my friends, that is ugly, that no one else wants. You want to live in a place where there's no cell service, where there's no service. It doesn't
have to be ugly.
Well, you can make it pretty, but you want everything else around you to be ugly. You want to live next to that guy with 20 cars in his driveway, and 50 riding lawnmowers all in pieces in his yard. That's the neighbor. As long as he's sober and halfway, and he can carry. He's a nice guy. He's a great neighbor. Because
that's pretty much everywhere around here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no rules about how you keep your property.
There's no rules. Let her say that again.
There's no rules about how to keep your property.
Woohoo! Because that's what you want. And you can't have that when all these people move out to where you live. And so, man, it's a tough break, and my heart cries out for Brad and Krista. And we get lots of emails like this, and from people who are going through the exact same thing, and they tell us their sad stories, and I get the emails and I read them, and it just breaks your heart, because and that's why we did that video. We did that video, Homestead Outlaws, because there are so many things today that will get the attention of local authorities, and they are more than happy to come into your life and tell you what all you're doing is wrong. And that's just the way it is. And so there's nothing really you can do about that except to move out to a place where those people don't exist, and then live life however you see fit, however you want. Folks, freedom in this country is dead.
The thing, though, is it scares me beyond. I mean, it's the future, should it ever come. But to think about having to start over. Mm-hmm. I mean, if at some point we're dealing with that kind of stuff here 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
And it can happen. I mean, now this is just my St. Louis. This is what I knew back in St. Louis. When my parents went to Lindbergh High School in St. Louis. If anybody is from St. Louis, they know that school. It's a very big school in the South County area. And where I lived as a child, there was nothing out there. That was completely rural America, cornfields, and that's it. I mean, there was nothing out there. And by the time, and now, when you go there now, that place, you can't tell the difference between, St. Louis County and St. Louis City. There's no difference. It's all been paved over. The only place you're going to find a cornfield or a soybean field now is right there on the riverfront in South County. That's it. But there's nothing. I mean, it evaporated that fast in one lifetime, my lifetime. Mm-hmm. It was gone. And that's scary to me. Now, where I live now, I think it'll take at least 2 lifetimes. I don't live near a big city. The biggest city is about 2 hours away from where I live. So I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, hopefully not on my children's lifetime, but his kid's lifetime it could happen. And so I don't know, but it's just the way it's the sprawl. But what is guaranteed is that when that sprawl happens, the zoning comes up, the regulations go up, the rules go up. There's all this stuff because people want to rule your life. And again, you got to move to a place that nobody wants to move. Find those places and move there. And you know, I don't know. I get a lot of emails. Again, people will say, you know, Zach, you know, we don't want to have to deal with the liberal, you know, bureaucrats and all this stuff that want to make up all these rules and how you have to have your lawns and all this stuff. I'm like, man, the only way around that is to move somewhere where those people don't want to live. You know, because you can't get fire insurance out here. You can't get housing insurance. Okay. If they saw the roads you drive on, they wouldn't even give you auto insurance because your cars are going to eventually fall apart. And that's, you know, and so some people don't want to live without that. You know, they believe that you have to have insurance in order to live. And I'm here to tell you that no, you don't. You know, we have a Toyota with a 275-gallon water tank on the back and a 900-gallon pump, a 900-gallon per minute pump, and that's our fire truck here on the homestead if something happened. So, I mean, you have to do it yourself. But zoning is the most feared word among homesteaders. I put a couple articles in the description below. You can follow along. The first one is over at Mother Earth News, and it's called Zoning and City Code Considerations for Urban Homesteaders. It says if you're considering starting a new urban homesteading project, make sure you're aware of the zoning designation and city codes for your area. The urban homesteading movement is growing and flourishing in cities large and small over the country. Even if you are an apartment dweller with little or no outdoor space, this helpful guide gives you everything you need to know to get a taste of the country life in the city. See, my point, why? Why do that? Just move out of the city. It says zoning codes are pretty much always written by lawyers. Well, there's your first problem. There's your first issue. People who've gone to law school.
But I think the point is that everyone has to start somewhere.
Sure, and we did. We started in the city.
Okay, so we had some veggies growing out on pots in our apartment patio.
I know. We stayed out of jail miraculously. I know. That's how most people, and Brad and Krista are the exact same way. I mean, they're learning and they're doing all these things and they're sharing what they're learning with other people. And that's why their channel is so popular. And because there's a lot of other people who are just like them. And so that's how they relate so well with so many people. And that's what we need. And that's what me and you did. And if we were still in the city 5 years ago, we'd probably be watching all of their channel just like all these other people are. And they're learning so much. So, I'm just saying that there comes a time when you have to jump ship and make it out on your own. And you know, when you get a zoning letter like that, you know, and I'm praying for Brad and Krista that they're going to, you know, because I saw their video that they put out this week, and, you know, obviously they were very upset, and rightfully so. And then the next day they put a video out with a lot, I mean, they had, you know, obviously prayed on it and, you know, had a totally different positive attitude about it. And they're just, you know, waiting to see what the Father provided for them. And they're going to, you know, put it in His hands. And, I mean, moving is an option for them. I mean, I know they're thinking about it. So, anyway, you can go to their channel. I'm sure they'll tell you way more about this stuff. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't want to pretend to put words in their mouth. But I just know that I feel the pain because we get a lot of emails like that. And, you know, it just is what it is. So one of the things it says here that I thought was interesting, it says, call and then ask again. Reading page after page of zoning language can be enough to leave you cross-eyed. Sometimes the quickest way to get answers is to call your city's zoning department and talk with someone. Make sure to make a note of the name of the person who's answering your questions in case you need to reference it in the future. So that's what we did. We first asked, said, hey, what zoning laws do you have in this area? And they were like, what zoning laws? What's that? I'm like, this is it. This is the place we're moving. So, but that, you know, ask people in the area where you're looking about zoning laws and restrictions that they have. The other article that I put in the description below here was the Prairie Homestead. This is Jill Winger's article, website. Let me find it here real quick. Maybe this is not right. What is it? 12 questions to ask before buying homestead property. Jill Winger over at the Prairie Homestead. And obviously, one of the things she talks about is zoning. The layout of the homestead, obviously, what are the growing seasons like, things like that. But what are zoning laws? What are the issues that you're going to have to deal with the local bureaucracy on having to deal with nonsense? Number 11, it says, are there any zoning restrictions, covenants? And it says, we were very particular about purchasing a property without any covenants or homeowners association rules. These seem to be the number one headache. Again, these seem to be the number one headache for many homesteaders, even though the rules might seem okay at first. Make sure there is room for any of your future goals or plans. Some homeowners associations don't allow clotheslines, chickens, or certain types of numbers of animals. This can be a serious roadblock on the road towards your homestead dreams. Make sure you know exactly what the homestead association will allow you to buy. Again, when you look up this stuff on things to remember when starting a homestead, lots of homestead blogs have blogged about this. There's lots of videos on YouTube. One of the number one things they're going to mention over and over again is zoning. Zoning. And the pain that is associated with that. And they also included an article over at thinkprogress.org. It says, urban homesteading is a popular trend, but is also ruffling some feathers. Because there are people out there, folks, who don't like you living the way you want to. They don't like the fact that you produce your own food. They don't like the fact that you're catching rainwater. They don't like the fact that you have, you don't have to go to the store to buy your eggs. And so that irks them. Your self and reliance and independence, makes them angry because they don't have the gumption to do it on their own, is really what it comes down to. The last article I wanted to mention, I saw this week, so it's kind of fitting. In fact, it was on Drudge. It might be on Drudge still today. But it was a fight going on between chicken owners and a ban in Washington, D.C. So Washington, D.C. has the mayor of Washington, D.C., with all of its drug problems and all of its other issues it's dealing with, has decided to ban chickens in Washington, D.C. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of liberals, because Washington, D.C. is a very liberal city. Bureaucrat central, right? Lawyer central. There's probably more lawyers per capita in that town. But they sure love their chickens, and they don't eat their chickens. Oh no, that would be just horrible. In fact, the lady who was on the video in that article, was asked in the article, well, what are you going to do if they make you get rid of your chickens? You're going to put them in the pot? And she was like, oh my gosh, no, that's so crazy. They all have names, and because they're her pets.
Is she eating their eggs?
Yeah, she's eating their eggs, but some people are just keeping them as pets. They eat their eggs, great, but they don't, well, it's like abortion. People are all pro-abortion. But you can eat the offspring. They don't care about the offspring. I'm just saying. That's what they think. Anyway, they're eating the eggs. They're not eating the chickens. That's just crazy. But they're fighting the ban that the mayor, the Washington, D.C. mayor, is proposing to ban chickens. This week in the news.
Well, because they want to keep their pets.
Yeah, they want to keep their pets.
Huh.
So,
I know people love their chickens. We love our chickens.
I don't have names for them.
But I really don't understand the whole pet thing for chickens. I really don't.
I think they're
so messy.
They're disgusting.
Oh.
Why would you? I have a cat that sits on my lap, but there's no way I'd ever have a chicken sit on my lap.
Some people, if you allow your chickens inside, I have to know why, and maybe we can post that in the comments later on. But I just can't understand why anyone would want their chickens inside.
Anyway, so the article is in the link. The link of the article is in the description below. You can check it out. It's D.C. The mayor of D.C., Washington, D.C., is going to battle with chicken owners in Washington, D.C., and they're fighting a proposed ban. So they're hashing it out. Just another place. I listed a whole bunch of places in that Homestead Outlaws video of places where you can get thrown in jail for owning a chicken. Washington, D.C., they want to make that the next place. I was surprised to hear about how many chicken owners are actually in Washington, D.C. in the Beltway, but obviously there's quite a few. Anyway, So this was a cool article that I found this week. I thought you might be interested in because it kind of relates to homesteading. So this is in California, and let me find it. Okay, it's in California, I believe, in San Francisco. This little bungalow house sells for $250,000 over asking. It's a 1-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah.
And it's got pictures too. So we'll go through the pictures. You can see the pictures.
It's a cute little house.
Well, this is like the rundown. People thought they were going to just doze it. Okay.
Yeah, it needs some updating.
Now, you see the pictures. We're going through the pictures, folks. You can go through the pictures too. That's why I put the links in the description below of the articles that we're going to talk about so you can follow along. But you can see it needs work. I mean, rip up the floors, obviously. Floors are pretty horrible. But we're thumbing through the pictures. There's one of the sinks.
The kitchen needs a complete tear out.
The kitchen, just needs a tear out. But the cool thing is they have a bathroom that is, they said was spectacular. So, here, I'll show you. There it is.
He knows that I love to look at pictures of houses.
That was like one of her favorite shows back when we had a TV living in the city was, what was the show where they go through and they do the makeovers? The house makeovers?
Oh, gosh, what is it called now?
I don't know. But I mean, look at the bathroom.
Can't remember. Wow. Okay.
It doesn't match the rest of the house at all, does it?
No, because they obviously redid it.
Right. But that's the only thing in the house that's been redone. Everything else is just the way you saw it. I mean, there's the other bathrooms. Two bathrooms.
Yeah.
So,
two bathrooms, 1 bedroom?
2 bathrooms, 1 bed. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, this thing hit the market for $495,000 back in March. Okay, it ended up selling for $755,000 because people kept overbidding.
In Oakland's
Rockbridge neighborhood. It says peeling paint, rotting wood, unfinished ceilings, torn up linoleum didn't stop prospective home buyers from making an offer on a ramshackle Rockbridge abode. The teardown, they called it teardown because it was in that bad a shape. 383 60th Street sold for $250,000 over asking on Friday after receiving 19 offers. The 1-bedroom, 2-bath bungalow built in 1905 went on the market in March for $495,000 and sold last week at $755,000. People were lined up out the door on the first open house, according to listing agent Dahlia. At least 200 people came through. There was a little boy down the street who opened up a lemonade stand. He probably went to jail and was selling lemonade, popcorn, and cookies to all the people coming to the open house. I bet he didn't have a business license. They threw him in jail. The Rockbridge real estate market is sizzling, it says. The Oakland neighborhood with its own BART station. What's a BART station? Oh, it says it has its own BART station.
I don't know.
And a commercial district of trendy restaurants has seen home values rise 11.7% in the last 5 years from February 2012 to February 2017. So,
well, it's the neighborhood, and it's that whole idea that you could live in a neighborhood setting to be able to walk to the store and walk to the restaurants and live around people of your same lifestyle and all those things. I personally think it's kind of like an idyllic image that is unachievable, like only on television.
Right.
But I think that that's what people are looking for.
I don't know. I see a little tiny house like that, $755,000. And, this is why I think a lot of people are leaving California, because if they have a house that is paid off, or they have equity in it, they can sell and move out somewhere where the cost of living, again, it's about finding land that nobody else wants and building whatever you want on it, building whatever infrastructure you want on it, having whatever animals you want on it. Because it's possible with that kind of, money.
Yeah. But this is the kind of thing I think that we're dealing with in our culture where people no longer value family. And so they are moving to places where I would bet you a single person probably bought that house, or
really?
a couple who plans on having no children. Some kind of
I That's a lot of money for a single person.
But some kind of a lawyer or some kind of upper class job where they don't plan on having children, because that's that kind of lifestyle.
I just don't live. I can't comprehend that. But I believe you. It's probably right.
But that's the kind of lifestyle that people are looking for to be like the epitome of making it.
Right.
To be able to walk to restaurants and live around people of the same kind of lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. And, those kind of people have no desire to have a large family.
Right. So this last article I thought was fantastic. So this last article, link in the description below, is 1 in 5 adults in the United Kingdom can't change a light bulb or boil an egg.
I said that I could understand the egg. Like, cooking is a lost art and people don't cook anymore. But the light bulb?
But, hey, man, that looks complicated. What's this screwy thing go into? I don't know.
I find that hard to believe.
It said, are you handy enough that if a light bulb went out in your home, you'd be able to change it? Believe it or not, 1 in 5 people aren't so skilled. In fact, a new survey of people in the United Kingdom finds not only do about 20% of people not know how to change a bulb, the same number aren't sure how to boil an egg either.
I just think that this article is helping the average person feel better about themselves. I don't know.
But see, I actually think the number's higher than that.
For a light bulb?
Yeah, I totally do. Because people just don't do anything anymore these days. And not only that, but now they got these newfangled light bulbs that last forever. You never have to change them anyway, so that makes sense that most people wouldn't know how to do it.
Well, I guess if you lived in an apartment, your handyman, superintendent, whoever would come do it for you.
I just have to make a phone call and they'll do it for me. Hey, my light bulb's out. Can you come change it for me?
I don't know.
If you handed people an egg, hey, do you know how to boil this egg? There was a video that went around not too long ago where, I'm not kidding you, there were like 20 college students sitting around watching one college girl work with a can opener and a can of soup or something, and she was trying to get this thing on there. And when she finally got it on there and then did it and opened the can, they all stood up and clapped for her.
Oh, my word. That's horrible.
Some of you guys probably in the chat room saw that video. It was on Facebook, it was on YouTube, it was everywhere. And people just couldn't believe what they were seeing. That people were really, they were astonished at opening up a can.
Listen, I remember in my 20s when I was in college, all of the food was provided. All you had to do was go to the cafeteria. So I didn't really understand at that point in time how little people could cook. But after college in my 20s, I got my own apartment and I had a set of friends, and I was astounded with how many people I ran into my age that couldn't cook. Now, we're close to middle-aged and a new generation has grown up since. I just think, okay.
It hasn't gotten better. Let me tell you that much.
It's crazy to me. I don't understand. I was just telling, I read an article not too long ago. And it was in a newspaper, so I don't have a link for it. But basically the whole article was about how to get you to eat the food that is now presently residing in your refrigerator and how to not be wasteful, because isn't that the point? Like, we shouldn't be wasteful with our food. And I agree. But why do we need an entire article to teach people how to eat the food that is in their refrigerator? Not to go harvest it, not to figure out how to preserve it, but just to eat the food that's in their refrigerator. They were giving tips to figure out how to do that.
The articles, go ahead.
Maybe I'm off topic, but maybe I'm on a little rant myself, because
it's okay.
Come on. Nobody cooks anymore. Anyway, it reminded me of my roommate when I was in my early 20s, she would buy food and with all the intentions, grand plans of she found a new recipe and she would buy all the ingredients for it and then she'd put them in the fridge. And then what would she do? She would go get takeout. She would go fast food. She would do anything and everything because whatever struck her fancy. So that food would sit in the refrigerator. And this happened time and time and time and time again until the food would rot and start to stink. And guess who would clean the refrigerator? Me. And so finally I went to her and I said, come on, stop buying, because you know what? I have to just clean out the refrigerator and throw it away. Anyway, so that's kind of been always a pet peeve of mine. When you buy something, you eat it. You should eat it.
The article continues, interestingly, while 50% of those surveyed said they learned how to do a home task on their own by trial and error, plenty of people are turning to the internet for help, especially millennials. That's no surprise for me. The study found 4 in 10 people aged 25 and under prefer learning do-it-yourself chores online. I go to Google all the time when I want to learn something. Anyway, it breaks down. 81% of people can boil an egg. That's 19% of people who can't. 79% of people can change a light bulb. That's 21% of people who can't. 69% of people can cook a complete meal without using a recipe. 66% of people can read a map. Sew on a button, 65%. Let's see some of these other ones. Oh, changing a baby's diaper. 57% of people can do that, which means the other remaining percentage cannot. Check oil levels in a car. Only 53% of people can check the oil levels in their car or feel confident enough to do that. Only 37% of people can change a flat tire. Interesting. Article in the description below. Let's go over to the chat room. We got about 15 minutes left before we're gonna, kick off the air. So I always want to leave some room for the chat room. Please leave your comments in all caps so I can see them and get to them. If I don't get to them right the first time out, I'll try to get back to them. So just keep posting in them until we do see them. So tonight's the Late Late Show on the Homestead Network. Seen a lot of folks in the chat room. Got about 140 people or 130 people online. Let's see. Jamie gets on a rant. Zach is rubbing off on her.
Yeah, I have my little rants every now and then.
Now, the P38, that's what I have. The P38 can opener. I've never seen a P51. I'll have to look at that one. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've used the P38 on occasion.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where ours is around here. I thought it was in my...
It was when my can opener died.
Gear.
I don't know. I had a hard time finding a good can opener for a while, and so I think it was at one of those times where
Jess
it broke.
R says she's embarrassed to be human. So if you have any questions, please put them in all caps so that we can see them. Do you drink beer? Yes, we do drink beer. Jamie, what's your favorite beer?
I like the Stella Artois beer.
Yeah, Stella Artois.
That's my favorite.
That's the favorite beer around here.
But we recently heard that Bud Select they're not making Bud Select anymore, and I really liked that one too. So
yeah.
Although, I don't know. I'm really kind of thinking that beer made from wheat is not sitting with me well anymore. So I'm looking for different options when it comes to beer. I know that they make a sorghum beer. I haven't tried it though.
Jan Partain wanted to know if we got our ghost peppers to grow. Well, no. We had a frost. I got them planted. They were growing, and we had a frost come in about 3 weeks ago and killed everything. I did not think the frost was going to be that bad, but I came out the next morning and everything had ice crystals on it, and it was not good. So I lost my ghost peppers. I have a couple of the Carolina Reapers still alive. There's a couple of others. But yeah, it is what it is. Our peppers didn't do so well. So I started over some new peppers the other day, and so I'm kind of keeping those under taps. But yeah, I have some Rolling Rock beer out in the cooler right now. We have a cooler out on our deck, and but my stomach has not been good enough to, I don't know. I'm waiting to heal before I enjoy a nice cold beer again. Do I like ale? Yeah, ale's good. Just depends what it is. Michelle Cutler wants to know, how expensive was it to make your pizza oven? I don't know for sure, but I think the final price, when you included all the materials and everything that we did on that, including the foam insert that was the pattern on how to build it, I think it was around a little over $1,000, maybe $1,200, something like that. When you consider it all, and the most expensive part, because we found a pretty good deal on the bricks. The most expensive part on that pizza oven was the mortar, the fire mortar. It's very expensive, very, very expensive. But if you can find a good deal on fire mortar, that's what you got to have it. You got to have it, especially for the inside layer. Deep South Texas says you need to brew your own beer. I like brewing my own wine. We've done that. We're going to do some more of that in the future. But brewing your own beer requires some extra tools, and I don't know. It's not something that I've really got a hankering to do. So maybe someday. I don't know. Can openers have names? ? She's probably talking about the P-38.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
The P-38 is an old military term. It was something that was included on sea ration cans that the GIs used to use to open their cans, and so it's called the P-38. Google it. Everyone should have a P-38. It works. It's amazingly reliable, and it's very small. Please, let's see. Do you drink it warm like the Brits? Absolutely not. I'm not a Brit. I'm an American. I drink my beer cold.
Sacrilege.
What is the best material to use in the garden to mulch around seedlings? I prefer wood chips. Wood chips. Are you guys still pressure canning meat over the wood fire? What did you learn?
Yes. And what did we learn? That it works.
It works.
We pressure can all of our meat.
Yeah, we do most of our pressure canning over a wood fire. We got a smaller canner recently we're starting to use inside at certain times. But most of our pressure canning during the summer months, especially when the harvest comes in and things like that, will always be outside on the wood fire.
The thing with pressure canning is that you just got to do it. And you'll learn a lot as you just get doing it. So if you have any seal fails or jars break or whatever, Deep South was talking about that earlier. In my experience, it's always been thermal shock. That means that there's a temperature difference between your jar and your water that your jar is not able to be strong enough to overcome. So whether that's your pressure coming down too fast or going up too fast, you just got to be careful with that. Plus, I always put cold jars in cold water or hot jars in hot water. Always be careful about that because that's a big thing when it comes to canning, especially pressure canning.
Somebody wants to know, why did you not put your house on a basement? Well, the reason why is because it'd probably add another $10,000 to the cost of the home, and we didn't want to do that. Our houses are paid off, the land is paid off, and we didn't want to go into debt. So adding a basement to the house would have probably added another, $10,000 or more to the cost of the house. So I would love to have a basement. Most people around here don't have basements to their houses. Also, because we get a lot of water on this mountain, it would probably flood. I mean, it's almost impossible to make a basement waterproof anyway, unless you do unless it's really, really expensive. We just didn't do that. One Lost Dude says, do you distill spirits yet? It is illegal to distill spirits in these United States. I don't care. Listen, you cannot distill spirits according to federal law. I don't care what your state law says, because different states say different things. But federal law says you cannot distill spirits, period. Okay? For personal use or otherwise, period. If you do, you can go to jail. So we are going to make some ethanol. We do have a federal fuel permit that allows us to do ethanol, and we're going to do some videos coming up probably on that. But we will denature it with gasoline because I don't want to be, anyone accusing me of having moonshine here. But it is illegal. In our state, Arkansas, you cannot do it. In Missouri law says you can distill for personal consumption, but it doesn't matter what Missouri law says, because here's the deal. If the feds come knocking, if the TTB comes knocking, if the ATF comes knocking, you're going to jail if you're in Missouri and you are distilling spirits for your own personal consumption. That's just the cold, hard truth. There is a law in Congress trying to go through where they're trying to pass it to where you can distill a certain amount per household per American, but it's facing some uphill battles in Congress, so I don't know if it'll ever pass or not. Let's see, any morels left? I went out there the other day and didn't see any. I'm done for the season. I'm not going back out there because the poison ivy is coming in thick, and I'm done with that. Glad you are debt free. Best way to be if you can. Well, the house is paid off, the land's paid off. I'm not debt free yet because I still owe my student loans. I owe a good amount of money on my student loans. I'll probably never pay them off, so we'll see.
Don't say never.
Yeah. It'll be my kids will be grown before I pay that off, put it that way. We have a sump pump for our basement. Yeah, my parents have one for them too, because it leaks. I mean, most basements leak a little bit even. So, when you plant your seeds, do you cover with mulch before they sprout or after? No, I let my seeds sprout, and then as they come up, I begin to cover with mulch as they grow. That's how I do it. Jamie, how do you keep your skin so clear?
Well, I don't know. Should I tell my skin story?
I don't know.
I had really bad acne when I was a kid, and both Zach and I did. We took Accutane. If you're familiar with any kind of acne medication, like at that time, that I don't know about anymore, but at that time that was the strongest medicine you could take, and you had to do blood tests and all of that stuff. Anyway, it cleared up my skin. These days, I don't wear any makeup, and I only wash my face with water. I don't use soap on my face because it's too drying. Any kind of soap, I don't care what it is. I've used all kinds of natural soaps, but I don't use anything on my face, just water. No makeup, just water.
Yeah. Jan Partain wants to know, any luck on the coyote front? No, the coyote season is over, so there's not a lot you can do unless it's illegal. So can't hunt coyotes right now. The season's over. But yeah, it is what it is. There's always next season. But if I see one, it's probably going to go down, but I just won't broadcast it to you all. Anyway. Hey, listen, thanks again for tuning in this week. Really appreciate it. Someone wanted to know, doesn't local laws trump federal laws? No, federal law rules the land. So it doesn't matter what your local municipality or state or city says. Federal laws overrule all of those. So just so you know. All right, guys. Had a great time. We'll see you next week. Already got some articles stacked up for next week that we'll get to. So have some great videos coming out this week. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Feel free to leave comments. Give us a thumbs up before you leave tonight. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time on An American Homestead.